What's up, everybody? Pete Pardo here from Comic Book Geezers. Welcome to another episode of the show. And yes, it's October. It's Halloween season, so you know what we generally like to do here on the channel when it's Halloween season. Talk about like horror, monster comics, and things, right? So I've got two cool volumes that were given to me by our good friend Craig Kaminsky. You know him from over on the Sea of Tranquility channel as a member of the Monsters down in the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got the Lovecraft Anthology volumes 1 and 2. Edited by Dan Lockwood. Okay, a graphic collection of H.P. Lovecraft short stories. All right, so very cool stuff here. And these are the publisher is Self-Made Hero Publications. And these, I believe, came out in like 2000. Oh boy, what do we got here? 2012 was volume 2, and volume 1, I believe, was 2011. So fairly short proximity to each other. And these are basically some classic H.P. Lovecraft horror stories done in graphic novel format, so basically comic book format, right? So you get, what do we have here? We've got, and I'm not going to go into all of these because there's quite a few of them, but you got the Call of Cthulhu, you got Haunter of the Dark, the Dunwich Horror, Color Out of Space, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Rats in the Walls, and Dagon. That's what you have in the first volume. And I think, for me, the first volume is the most successful of the two because I think what they did was they picked the best Lovecraft stories first for the first volume, and then some of the other stuff that was left over they tackled in volume 2. I think these stories hold up a little bit better, but the artwork in both is really, really cool. You start off, you get like a little kind of forward from Dan, the editor, and then we get into the meat and potatoes. So here we have the Call of Cthulhu, so adapted by Ian Edgington, illustrated by D'Israeli. And again, just if you're familiar at all with some of these stories, they're pretty close to the original writings of H.P. Lovecraft, but again, done in graphic novel format. So really good stuff here. These are twisted tales, let me tell you. Twisted Tales. I just want to give you like some, without like getting too much into the stories or giving away anything. I do want to show off some of the artwork, which is really well done. And like I said, each story has a different set of writers. So The Haunter in the Dark is adapted by Dan Lockwood, illustrated by Shane Ivan Oakley. This is a pretty cool story as well. Some really horrific imagery in these. Like I said, if you're all familiar with the stories of H.P. Lovecraft, pretty twisted. The Dunwich Horror, adapted by Rob Davis, illustrated by I.N.G. Cullbard. This is a good one. And again, it's some of the nightmarish artwork. And what's interesting about most of these stories is this whole idea, and some of these are fairly bloody and whatnot. There's always seems to be these ancient, like kind of like godlike creatures, which are always out there, and they tend to pop up in a lot of the stories. And perhaps you've seen the many film adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft stories, right? So you've got Stuart Gordon did Dagon and From Beyond, right? And so there's a lot of those Lovecraft stories that have been made into films, of which these little mini stories here are basically taking the writings of H.P. Lovecraft, because he mostly wrote like short stories, and turning them into comic book form. So they're not like as fully fleshed out as like some of the movies that have been adapted from some of his stories. The Color Out of Space, David Hine, Mark Stafford. But man, some of this stuff is just out there. I mean, you know, firstly, you got really cool artwork, which it's great that each story has a different artist working with it. But man, some of these stories are just absolutely twisted, absolutely twisted. And you're looking at stuff that was written, you know, like 100 plus years ago, right? The Shadow over Innsmouth is really cool. Just want to get you some nice, cool artwork here. And that, I believe, which one was this? Was that Dagon? No, that was the Innsmouth one. And then in the back, you get some information about all the people who worked on it, a little background info on the artist and the adapters, right, which is always kind of nice, give you a little bit of information on who they are, where they came from. And then over on volume 2, okay, similar type format here. Here we have the short stories, Pickman's Model, The Temple from Beyond, right? He, the Hound, The Nameless City, Pictures in the House, or The Picture in the House, The Festival, and The Statement of Randolph Carter. And again, you know, some of these are just, this one is awesome. Pickman's Model is almost like a different play on the Dorian Gray story, which is kind of interesting. So, you know, about this painting, right? But what's fascinating, may not be to some, about some of these stories in volume 2 is that a lot of the stories kind of end very abruptly. And I'm sure that's how the short stories are. So, you know, at times I'm reading some of these and I'm like, you know, you're getting worked up, and then you get to the last panel and you turn the page. I'm like, what, that's it? There's no more? Because that's how some of these stories actually ended. I mean, this is a great one here, which is the Temple, Chris Lackey adaptation illustrated by Adrian Salmon, about this kind of like doomed German submarine, right? Which, and a lot of these stories also, the people in the stories get introduced to like some sort of a like totem or some kind of trinket or a little mini statue or something which represents like the greater evil that's out there. There's quite a few of those permeating these stories, and how whoever gets in control of this little trinket or amulet or whatever it might be, they're pretty much doomed, right? It's this that runs across a lot of the stories here. But this is some chilling stuff, you know, from Beyond, adapted by David Camus, illustrated by Nicholas Fuchs. Okay, this is pretty twisted. You know, if you're familiar with the film, that's a pretty twisted film. I love it, by the way. But yeah, this is just nightmarish, and some of the drawing is great. So you got He, you know, what else is in here? So you got He, which is also a really cool story. Again, like crazy monsters and creatures permeate all this, just wacky stuff. The Hound, this is a good one as well. And again, you have that kind of like that totem thing. I mean, look at some of this artwork. Just terrific. And I wanted to show one panel specifically. I mean, look at this. Classic stuff. This is horror comics, baby. Let me tell you. What else here? The Picture in the House. This is also a good one. A lot of good stuff here. This is just very, very entertaining. And again, really gets you in the mood for the time of season, right? Festival. I would say, you know, if you've ever read any of the H.P. Lovecraft short stories, you'll get a kick out of these comic adaptations. And if you've never read any of the Lovecraft stuff, but maybe you've seen some films based on Lovecraft writings, or maybe you've just heard things here and there, this would be a great introduction, because the artwork is very cool. All the dialogue and everything, it's just, they do a really, really nice job. I need to check and see if they did any other adaptations or whether these are just the only 2 volumes. But really cool. A graphic collection of H.P. Lovecraft short stories from Dan Lockwood and company. Go check them out. I'm sure you can still get these. Again, thanks to Craig for floating them our way. I will make sure that Mr. Wild Bill gets to read these too, because of course you know he loves horror comics, and so does Kirk as well. So it's we'll all be taking our turns reading these, and very cool stuff, and nicely done little volumes here. List price on these US $19.95, $21.95 Canadian. So you probably, if you can still get them, that's how much they are. You can probably get used copies or whatever if you can find them out there. So go check them out. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, you got the link to the Sea Tranquility merch site where you can get a Comic Book Geezer shirt or coffee mug, as well as all sorts of other SOT stuff. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon here with more stuff on Comic Book Geezers, as it is October. Expect lots of other creepy stuff coming up this month. Till then, I am Pete for Wild Bill and for Kirk. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon here on Comic Book Geezers. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.